which today we're running with Intermark and our Canadian colleagues CERBA. Today, we're going to look at some of those opaque area of immigration, which has further been complicated by COVID restrictions. My name's Alf Torrance, and I'm the Executive Director of the RBCC, and I'm delighted to welcome today's speakers from Intermark, Olga Markeshina, Director of Immigration Services, and Anton Taranishin, Senior Specialist in Immigration Knowledge, and Nathan Hunt, Chairman of the CERBA Moscow Board. Thank you as well, of course, to all RBCC, CERBA, and Intermark members and friends for joining us today. Before we get started, I'd just like to run quickly through some of the ground rules on how we'll run today's webinar. After I've finished, Nathan will say a few words, after which Olga and Anton will make their presentations. I'm sure many of you will have questions to put to Olga and Anton, so please use the chat room function during the course of the webinar. The team will be monitoring the chat room and will try to pick out some of the more popular themes. Please, can I ask the audience to be on mute during the course of the webinar? And we will be recording today's event, which we'll post on the website either later today or tomorrow morning. If you'd like to follow up on any of the issues with Intermark, I'm sure you have the details, but if not, they're on the website. That's all I have. I hope you enjoy today's event. And Nathan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Alf. Let me first say it's a pleasure and a privilege to do a joint event with between CERBA and the RBCC. We used to do an annual cocktail, and lately it's become difficult to do cocktails. So it's nice to at least do something with you fellows, with you people. Having said that, I will say that we are proud of our affiliation with Intermark. Intermark is a Canadian-owned company, partially at least. Fraser Lawson is a Canadian, as many of you know, also a Brit. They have really, I think, come to the forefront during the past 12 to 18 months. Of course, Intermark was always a leader in the area of relocation, but they've become a leader in the area of migration policy and migration services for foreigners, something that perhaps they did in the past, but honestly, I didn't associate them with that activity in the past. And over the past 12 to 18 months, as I say, they've become the clear leader in that field. So if you have migration questions, or if you need a residence permit, or if you have work questions, Intermark is certainly the place to go. They're also a fine company to use for relocation services, as has been known for quite some time. And some of you may not know this, they'll clean your flat. I hired them to do my flat, and I ended up paying honestly exactly the same as I would have paid my prior cleaning lady, of 1,000 rubles more, just a little more. But I got 2 cleaning ladies for that, and they did a bang-up job, and I'm going to hire them again. So enough of my advertisement, but I'm really pleased with our association with Intermark, and wish them the very best, and am proud to have them as a CERBA member. Without further ado, let's turn the floor over to Olga Markeshina. What can you tell us about Russian immigration policies in 2021? Olga, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, for introduction and warm words about Intermark. Highly appreciated. Thank you very much. I mean, those who are sharing an hour with us. Thank you for the interest displayed in our topic. And million thanks, of course, to British and Canadian Chambers of Commerce for the opportunity to deliver the presentation on their platform. Of course, everybody knows that immigration is a very sensitive and challenging issue, and especially during the lockdown hard times we suffered all together last year. Meanwhile, we are not expecting that the times will become much more optimistic this year, because it is still underway, and we really hope that we could help everyone of you to navigate through these uncertain times and challenges which are waiting us ahead. At least for us, we are working under the slogan, expect unexpected, indeed. And during the lockdown, I think that our Russian authorities, migration authorities, had much time to amend the rules, and they just take a chance of it. So it happened that many rules, regulations in immigration sphere in Russia were amended, some new procedures were adopted. So we shall speak about it today. And this will be the kind of status quo as for today, really, because some clarifications we made even yesterday evening. So let me, I want to have a chance just to speak a little bit about the company. Just to introduce Intermark as a full agency, full scope relocation agency. We are working in 10 countries, CIS countries, and in more than 250 cities. As for immigration, we are filing more than 2,500 files per year. And you see the map, which will give you the idea where we are today. As for our staff, we are rather big company for a relocation one, and we have a not immigration team consisting of 17 experts, and it is of course not it is average size team, I should say. We have experience being established from 1993. And it is of my proud to tell you that our consolidated experience of our 17 immigration experts is 127 years of work in immigration sphere. And the other thing which we are proud of is that we are the single one company in our sphere in Russia, which is awarded, which is certified by the quality seal of European Association of Relocation Companies. Of course, we are preferred suppliers for many multinational, and the pool of our clients exceeds 400 companies. And we are the members for a long, long time. We are the members of international associations, and especially of different immigration global networks. Because this, you understand, this add, of course, much to our experience as an experts. This is our awards, and we are just awarded for commitment to excellence, highest quality of service. For several times we were awarded, we were recognized as a destination service provider and immigration provider of the year. That's all. Thank you very much for the attention. And this is the agenda of today's panel. The first part is devoted to the COVID restrictions update. And the second part is devoted to the recent novelties in immigration law, as well as the recent practice, which is, you know, means much in our Russian realities, as well as everywhere in the world, I guess. And the third part will be your questions, and we shall try to answer and comment on all of them. But in case we will be short of time, then you are welcome to send them to our address, to our attention, and we shall answer everything in the written form. Then let's start. Restrictions on entry into Russia as they are as for today. The general rule was introduced in March 2020, and all foreign nationals were banned from entry to Russia. And issue of invitation letters as well as consular visas were suspended. But there are some exemptions. They are not some but numerous. And I draw your attention only to the very notable of them. Here they are. We shall, step by step, we shall discuss almost all of them. And those in color are of great importance for us and for the audience today. Exemptions are for a number of countries, for the citizens and permanent residents of so-called exempt countries, for persons holding permanent residence permit (PRP) in Russia, and for citizens of CIS countries, but only in case they are arriving to Russia under transit visa on their way to the country of their citizenship. Then the special procedure was approved for HQS employees and their dependents, as well as this procedure is eligible to technical support specialists. We shall speak further about this special procedure. And on the right side of the slide, you see just some private grounds which allow these private persons to enter Russia. This is almost force majeure circumstances related to the close relatives of those who are entering. And at the bottom of the slide, you will of course see the definitions, what are close relatives and who are considered to be HQS dependents. This is the list. This is the list of lucky countries who receive permit to enter Russia. The countries appear in the list step by step, starting from 2, and now there are as many as you see on the slide. And just the remarks, they are on the right of the slide, that UK was received last year the permit of 1-3, but then after the exaggeration of COVID situation inside UK, the resumed flights were again suspended till March 16. As for Canada and America, USA, then they are not on this lucky list, and the general rule of the ban are fully applicable to them. This is about the special entry approval procedure, which was introduced for such type of the foreign workers as highly qualified specialists, their dependents, and as well as for such type of the employees as technical service specialists, which were entering Russia and are entering Russia for technical maintenance purposes, for installation, etc., for technical service of the foreign equipment. And the procedure is as follows. The inviting party is a sponsor of application to the relevant ministry. Inviting party files the request with the ministry to receive entry approval for this or that foreign employee, as well as his family members, if any. The ministry forwards the approval in case of the positive decision on the side of the ministry. It forwards this approval to Ministry of Internal Affairs and Federal Security Service of Russia. And then the approved lists are received by these state authorities, and expat is okay to enter, because the approval is just at hand of the border control, and approval list is forwarded to migration offices, and then the company local employer in Russia is okay to apply for work permit and letter of invitation for these approved personnel, principal and his family members. Moreover, from the recent time, the approval is confirmed on the public service portal of Russia, and the expat is okay to track his approval decision there. And he must be registered with public service portal, and there is some requirements to this. But in any case, to do so, we can support expat to get through this procedure on the public service portal. You are always welcome. When approval is not needed, because sometimes it is not, and many of our clients are always asking us about this. The approval is not needed for the citizens and permanent residents of the exempt countries, which we saw on the previous slide. And in the situation when they already have HQS work permit and work visa, but they want to re-enter Russia, so they may do it under their actual permits, work permit and visa. Approval is not needed for any applications, work applications, correction, extension, etc., if expat is not abroad but stays within Russia. So you do not need to initiate the entry approval procedure via ministry. And from the recent novelty is that under one approval received from ministry, you may enter Russia multiple times, because before this decision, it was only you received the approval only for single entry. The whole procedure takes up to 30 days from the formal point of view, but from practice we know sometimes it takes a week, but sometimes it takes almost 2 months or even 3. It depends on the ministry, because some of them are either overloaded or they are extremely lazy, we don't know. But in our practice, just yesterday we received the approval, which was submitted in November last year. Then 2 words about COVID test and quarantine rules. All of you know, it is like in any other countries that COVID test is to be made prior to arrival in Russia, and the negative test is to be presented twice upon boarding the flight and then upon crossing the Russian border. And also, you will be asked by your local employer to present this negative test when you found yourself in the office. It's just the obligation of the employer to check the test result of the foreign employees after their arrival in Russia. The requirement, you see the requirements to this test. You see that PCR test is required, not the positive antibodies test. That the test is to be made earlier than 3 days before entry, and the test certificate must be in English or in Russian. The self-isolation requirements after you enter Russia is, from our point of view, rather simple. The law proclaims that only foreigners entering Russia with the purpose of work must comply with the 14-day self-isolation requirement. And after the flights to and from UK were resumed, then there was a decision, governmental decision announced that those who manage to arrive from UK, then they will be obliged to come to pass self-isolation period as well. As for all other foreigners, they are exempt from the requirement to spend 14 days in isolation. It's not mandatory. Then the second part, the second issue, this is migration amnesty, which you know was extended several times in Russia. And the last time it was extended in December last year till June, 15th of June this year. The deadlines for stay, the extension of migration amnesty till June is not applicable to everyone. For example, this is the list of exempt countries. Those who are using the right and who have the regular flights with Russia, they have only 90 days for leaving the country, for leaving Russia. This is the additional requirement to migration amnesty requirements. And this is, we put all of these countries in the list, and we calculated these deadlines of 90 days. For these countries and for the citizens and permanent residents of these countries, they must leave Russia before the deadline date. The calculation of 90 days is from the date of resuming the flights with these countries. If these citizens make their effort to extend their permits, work permits, visa in Russia, then they may stay under these renewed documents. Okay, this is the general rule, which is extended, as I already said, till June 15. But not every term of every document is extended. As of today, you see the enumeration of the terms which are extended. This is the terms of stay and residence in Russia, the validity terms of your actual migration registration, and the validity terms of a number of documents: visa, migration card, temporary residence permit, permanent residence permit, refugee or asylum certificate. And also pay attention, those to have the temporary residence permit or permanent residence permit of Russia, their maximum terms of staying abroad are also extended. This is the how the terms are calculated. These extended terms are calculated. The normal document term was stopped on the 15th of March, and the remaining term was transferred from the date of the amnesty deadline. This is the infographic for that. And if you calculate, this is 458 days. But I should like to note, as always, that this amnesty concerns only the documents which are expiring during the period of amnesty. Only them are subject to extension. And also be careful, and this is a kind of reminder, that the immigration amnesty just not eliminate the need of initial registration of a foreigner upon arrival to Russia, or they need to change to review registration when they change, a foreigner change location within Russia. And who is not eligible? As we have already said, the citizens of exempt countries have the amnesty, which is not longer than 90 days after the date of resuming the flights. And you see these exempt countries before on the previous slide, and their actual deadlines for leaving Russia or for extension of their actual permits. Migration amnesty is also with regards to different administrative sanctions applied to the foreigners in case of law violation. The general rule is that the foreigners remain still liable to administrative sanctions, but some of them are suspended. What are suspended in June 15 this year? The following decisions: the decisions of post-administrative expulsion from Russia, the decisions on deportation or decision on desirability of stay in Russia, and decision on cancellation of the documents, but on not all documents, but those we are mentioning below. Nobody will take the decision, will issue the decision to cancel visa, your work permit or work patent, temporary or permanent resident permits, and certificates, different certificates, refugee, asylum, etc. Till June 15. But what is in force, what is important in force still? A foreigner still may be expelled from Russia in case of administrative violation admitted, but not in the form of the forced expulsion, but in the form of self-control, self-exit expulsion. And it is the deadline for exit is also stipulated in the law. It must be in any case prior June 15 or upon transport availability, upon resuming the flights. But we know that there are many, more than 20 countries, even the third countries with respect to these or that foreigner, which have already resumed the flights. So this possibility in any case is for a foreigner who needs to be expelled in the form of self-exit. And also enforce administrative expulsion from Russia in case of repeated legislation violation. We know that any administrative expulsion from Russia, even in the form of self-exit, may expulsion leads in any case to the ban for entry for up to 5 years. So we must carefully bear in mind this fact, because this is the red flag and this is the risk, and the foreigners must be aware of it, of course. The next topic is the order of Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Russia, which was issued in December last year, late December. We know that we lived for 16 years under the so-called old order of Ministry of Foreign Affairs concerning purposes of entry. There was a long list of different available purposes of entry, and of the relevant type of visas. And in December last year, it was changed. And you will see the link, you will see the reference on the bottom of the slide for those who want to look at the document. This order changed the visa rules, the name of purpose of visit, and some amendments were made with respect to type of visa. Here they are. What has changed for business? We shall just stop on different purposes of entry and the relevant types of visa. The first purpose of entry, business one. The status quo, the new rules, the new regulation is that business purpose of visit accords to business type of visa. And now it has the following features, the following characteristics. It could be single or double entry, and the term is 90 days. Or it can be multiple for up to 1 year. And what is new? What is just worth paying attention? That now this is the only one visa available for business trips. And dependent visas are not available of this type. That means that if you are traveling for business purposes, you cannot have your dependents with you. Or you may have them, but not under the type of visa business. On the next slide, we will speak about the opportunities of dependents to enter and under what visa they are intended to enter. The second purpose is installation work. Earlier, it was business type of visa. Under special purpose, technical support. Now, purpose is named installation works, and the type of visa is work one. This is a work visa. Validity of this visa is 90 days, but it is only a single entry. It could be a single entry visa. And here you see what's new. It's replacement of the technical support visa, and the important issue is that in-country extension is not available at the moment, because you understand that business associations, international business associations in Russia, the chambers of commerce, they involve much energy and support in lobbying these challenging issues in new regulations, and maybe they will be approaching the state authorities to urge them to revise this point, and maybe will receive still the possibility of extension of this type of visa, because it's of course it's the need to, I think, because sometimes the installation works, they are made step by step, and then maybe there will be a success in lobbying this issue with the state authorities. The next purpose of entry is working in Russia. The purpose of entry is work activity, and the type of visa is, as usual, work one. Yeah, and here you see the validity. It's traditional, multiple entry for HQS or with a validity of up to 3 years, depending on the term of the labor contract. And as for non-HQS employees, it's single entry for 90 days. And in-country extension, traditionally, into multiple is available, and multiple visa up to 1 year. also depending on the term of the labor contract or on the term of the service, civil service contract with the employee. What's new? This type of visa is now, from now on, is applicable to teachers and lecturers who do not require work permit in Russia, but the work visa will not be the teaching visa. It was a special type of visa for teachers earlier, but now they will receive this work type of visa. Then the next purpose of entry, relevant to the working assignees. This is the dependent purpose of entry. The type will be work visa, as always, traditionally. And traditionally, it will be multiple entry for 3 years. But the most important issue is that work type of visa will not be anymore available for dependents of non-HQS employees, with exception of 2 journalists. And below, we shall speak how they could enter them. They can take an advantage of the next private visa. The next purpose of entry is the guest one, and the relevant type of visa is private one. They can be, at the moment, only single or double entry, and with the term 90 days. And this is the alternative for dependent visa. Moreover, employer company, local employer may sponsor in the private invitation for, say, for example, for dependents of non-HQS employees. And this is the topic on very sensitive issue of migration regulation. Migration registration is always challenging issue for everyone, and it is the source of concerns, regrets, sanctions, violations, etc., because it's not a very simple one, and it is changing very often. And recently it was changed again. The innovations were introduced, and we know how it is challenging this process in practice when you submit the notifications on arrival to local migration authorities. This is the headache almost always. But we have some good news with respect to this innovation to registration rules. And we start with this positive moment. From now on, hotel registration does not cancel registration at the apartment. That means that being checked in the hotel and being then checked out from the hotel, you do not need to renew your registration at the place of your so-called permanent residence, where at the apartment, I mean. But this is some hardships in practice, because not each local migration authority has the same interpretation as in law. And in practice, they face the difficulties, and very, very strong one, when the local migration authorities you're applying to considers that still you must renew your registration at the apartment after returning from hotel. That's why, in each case, we always recommend our clients to double check with the local migration office whether to renew apartment's registration or not. The next innovation is that at last tenants, foreigners may register themselves if the landlord resides abroad. But of course, it must be done only in person. They need to go to the local migration office to do it. To do it, the only one document will be required. It will be notarized consent of the landlord, but also challenging requirement in practice, because local migration authorities require one consent in original for each application. So also it is not working smoothly. The next novelty is that the foreign landlord who owns the apartment can be the host party and can register the tenants living in his apartment. But we are still collecting the practices because they are not yet formulated. We do not have too many foreign landlords. Many clients, but not many foreign landlords, owners of the apartments. So we shall advise you if you collect the relevant data. The law, of course, proclaims again the electronic migration registration via the portal of state portal, but not available surely in practice. Then pay attention to this novelty. The law obliges a foreigner to report to the host party in case he changes his personal data. And you will see what is personal data. Passport, requisites of visa, requisites of temporary and permanent resident permit, profession, position, term of stay in Russia. In all these cases, he is obliged to report to the host party, whether the host party is the landlord or the company, employer company, or the third party. Nevertheless, the foreigner has the obligation to report. And the said one, if the company is the host party, the said one innovation. The signee must be the one submitting the documents. Of course, this puts very strong difficulties on the way of migration registration. For example, when we have a corporate lease and your company gives the apartment, provides the apartment for an employee, some migration local officers insist that signee must be employed by the company. And he will be the one to submit the documents. This is how it works. Maybe we shall overcome. We always keep our clients informed. So I think it's all, and we are ready to start this session of questions and answers. Thank you very much.
Olga, thank you very much for that very detailed exposition of what is clearly a very, very complicated matter. We have lots and lots of questions, as you would expect, and I will start with a question from Anastasia, and she asks, could you please share the details of the state decision where it is mentioned that 14-day self-isolation is not obligatory anymore for foreigners, except those who arrive from the UK? She says she hasn't seen any of that official documentation yet.
Anton will answer. Thank you very much for the question.
Yes, thank you for the question. Initially, the requirement, the self-isolation requirement was introduced by the decree of the Chief State Sanitary Doctor of Russia, number 7, dated the 18th of March 2020. But it was amended in July last year. And this requirement was removed, and only this requirement was kept only for those foreign nationals who arrive in Russia for the purpose of work. Also, this is introduced by the decree number 9, dated the 13th of March 2012 with amendments. Also, it is important to mention that in December last year, this requirement was also applied to foreign nationals who arrive from the UK. This is the decree number 43, dated the 21st of December 2020.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Ellen, and she asks, how do the new visa rules impact on the directors of representative offices? Previously, they didn't require a work permit as they headed up a foreign entity. What visa should they apply for work or other? Or Olga, I'm not sure who.
Yes, thank you for the question. Normally, the new visa rules should not impact this category of employees because they are still entitled to receive the special work visa with the purpose of entry called foreign official, in Russian иносотрудник. And so this visa is still available for them, and also the visa rules, they do not affect the work authorization rules in Russia directly. So no changes should be here for them.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is from Gerard, and he asked for a bit of clarification. He has an HQS work permit, and he asked, can he enter Russia without any issues, i.e. he suspects he may need to have to put himself on a list. Is that right?
Thank you. If a person is a citizen or a permanent resident of an exempt country, he or she may enter by air flight only from this very country. So, for example, I don't know, if, for example, if we speak about UK citizens, normally they are free to enter Russia by flight directly from the UK, provided that they already have a visa. The only tricky moment here is that currently the flights are suspended until the 16th of March. So technically it may be not possible to find a flight to Russia, a direct flight. And in case this person would like to enter Russia from another country, then it will be necessary to receive an approval.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is about the right to work, and Sertac asks, do all CIS, and Moldovan is included, citizens have an automatic or almost automatic right to work in Russia?
No, not all CIS citizens, only citizens of countries which are members of the Eurasian Economic Union, namely Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus and Armenia. Only citizens of these 4 countries are work permit exempt in Russia. As for other CIS nationals, including Moldovan nationals, they need a work authorization in Russia, which could be either a patent, a special type of work permit for CIS nationals, or it can be an HQS work permit.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is from Marina, and she asks, a Canadian citizen, this might test your knowledge, you're a Canadian citizen with Indian residency and family on HQS visas. Can they enter from Canada to Russia via a European transit hub? Quite detailed, I'm not sure.
Thank you for the question. If these family members are put on the approved lists, they can enter from any country. But if they would like to enter Russia because they have a residence permit in India, then they would need to enter by a direct flight from India. They will not be able to arrive from another country.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. The next question is from Lucy, and Lucy asks, can you do your PCR test on arrival in Russia at the airport or within a day of after arrival, or must you arrive with a negative test?
Thank you for the question. No, the Russian nationals, they may pass the test after arrival in Russia, but in case with foreign nationals, the requirement is that they pass the test before arrival, and they will need to present it upon boarding the flight to Russia and upon arrival in Russia.
Okay, that's straightforward. Thank you. The next question is from Gordon.
I'll just break in really quickly and say,
Sorry,
I know
yeah,
some Russian citizens, I know some Russian citizens that tried to fly to Russia without a PCR test, and the airline wouldn't let them in. And they protested that, oh, it's okay, our government doesn't require it. I can do the test after I arrive in Russia because I'm a Russian citizen. The airline said, no, we're not putting you on the flight unless you have a PCR test.
Right. Thanks, Nathan. The next question is from Gordon. He's a UK citizen with an HQS permit, but lives in Latvia. And as there's a land border, he asked, can he drive into Russia and self-isolate afterwards with a valid COVID-free certificate, or must he arrive in Russia by plane?
UK national, again, it is possible to arrive from any country provided that the UK national is put on the approval list, but arrival without the pre-approval is possible only from by a direct flight from the UK.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, I suspect I know the answer, but I'll ask it. It's from Olga, and she wants to know whether under decree passed on in July 2020, is it necessary to self-isolate as a foreigner for 14 days, even if the foreigner has been vaccinated? Does that stop him from self-isolation? And that's, is there any official documents that say self-isolation isn't mandatory? Sorry, slightly complicated, but I hope you got the gist of that.
Thank you. No, there are currently no official documents that say that self-isolation is not mandatory for people who have been vaccinated. Currently, the self-isolation requirement applies to all persons who arrive for the purpose of work or arrive from the UK. This is, well, a topical issue because more and more people are receiving a vaccine, but so far there have been no changes to the decrees published by the Russian Sanitary and Health Agency.
Thank you. The next question is from Elena, and she asks, can a British citizen with an HQS visa who has a family in Russia who are Russian citizens, can he travel outside of Russia, for example, for Dubai, on his HQS visa? And if he's not going to the UK, can he return without any problems to Russia? Elena, I think, finds the advice on the border service website a little bit confusing.
Thank you. Foreign nationals are always free to leave Russia, so no problems when exiting the country. As for returning back to Russia, a UK citizen may be let through, provided that he or she has close family members in Russia, namely children, parents, or spouses. So if the British citizen shows the confirmation of relationship a Russian national, it is possible to enter.
Thank you very much. Gordon referenced the question about Latvia, if you remember a few questions back. Gordon's come back and asked for clarification. And he asks, when UK's back active on the exempt list, I suppose it's, or can I get an approved list as an HQS employee and cross the border by car or only by plane? Do you understand that? Or
Yes.
no.
If a person is put on the approved list, then it is possible to enter from any country and by any means through the checkpoint which was specified in the request for entry approval. So yes, it is possible the employer company in Russia may apply a request, submit a request to the Russian ministry, and once it is approved, it is possible to enter Russia. We recommend only to provide additional justification why the approval is needed for a UK citizen, because sometimes the ministries just reply that the UK is on the exempted list, so they then the approval is not necessary. But we know that the approval is necessary because currently the flights are suspended and there is no way to take a direct flight from the UK. So we just recommend to provide some additional explanation why it is needed.
Okay, thank you. That's much clearer, and Gordon's happy with that explanation. We only have time for a couple more questions. Another clarification from Gerard. Again, that was a question about traveling from the UK as a UK citizen with an HQS visa traveling to Russia, but he adds that he's actually a resident in Holland, and there are direct flights from Amsterdam to Moscow. Would he need to be on the list, or would he have to travel to the UK and travel directly, or what's your reading of that?
So far, the Holland is not on the official list of exempted countries.
No, exactly. So he's UK citizen, however, living in a non-exempt country.
I see. No, it is necessary to travel, to take a direct flight from the UK. It won't be possible to travel from the Netherlands. The UK citizens arriving from other countries will not be let through unless they have an approval.
Okay, thank you very much.
I noticed that a lot of people are asking the exact same thing, and we get the exact same answer from Anton. If you're from an exempt country, you must come on direct flight from that country. End of story. If you're not, then you can, but you have to be on the list.
Yeah.
So that's, and Anton has repeated that about 7 or 8 times. So let's, hopefully people will stop asking the same question.
Well, they will, because unfortunately that we're running out of time for questions. We've answered most of them actually, and I'll finish with a double question, which maybe Olga will comment on as well. The first, have you heard any rumors about a COVID passports being introduced to allow sort of testing-free travel arrangements? And secondly, what's your feeling on the travel ban review on the 16th of March to the UK? What's your feeling on whether or not that will be lifted? Thank you.
You see, Anton, the first place, then if needed, I will add.
So far, Russia is testing a program together with some of the Eurasian Union, Eurasian Economic Union countries, with Belarus and Armenia. It is some kind of a COVID passport. If a person is included in passes the test and is included in a database, he can just show the test result in his mobile app upon entering to Russia, and he will be let through. But this is a project currently being tested and only within the members of Eurasian Economic Union.
And the test period is 1 month. And I think that
it's been recently renewed.
Recently launched, and in a month the testing will be finalized. Yeah.
So far, no official documents regarding other countries.
Yeah.
Right. And then finally, what's your sense about the review on the 16th of March, reference flights to the UK, given that numbers there are dropping and the vaccination program has been rolled out quite effectively?
Anton, do you have an opinion?
No.
Well,
that's fine.
Because it may be different points of view.
I was just wondering what you felt, being experts or sort of on a daily basis.
We hope that finally the ban on these flights is removed, but it has been renewed several times since December, so it's hard to guess. There is a possibility that the government may decide to renew the ban for another month or so.
But I think that entirely depends on the COVID situation in London, I think, in UK, I think.
Okay, great.
And they are tracking, and there is a feedback from them. Much depends on the chief sanitary department. And I think that the optimistic from one point of view is the fact that it is on the list.
Yes.
It is on the list, and then it's much easier to return, to lift the suspension, other than to include a new country into the list.
Yes, yeah, good. Okay, Anton, Olga, Nathan, thank you very much for a really engaging and interesting webinar. Lots and lots of information imparted there, and I'm sure the audience will be very pleased with all that information they've received. I know if the audience have any further questions, you'll be pleased to answer them. All the information's been on the throughout the webinar, so you'll see it there. So if you've got any remaining ones, please address them. That's all from me. I just add that our next webinar is next week on the 12th of March, where the prominent economist Sergei Guriev will be giving us an economic update. Details on the RBCC website. I hope you'll be able to join us. But with that, thank you from me. Nathan, over to you.
I will just say thank you to our two presenters, to Olga and Anton, for their extremely informed and understandable explanations, and detailed, I should say. I'm just astounded by the amount of detail involved in this legislation and by how much of it the two of you know. So thanks to both of you for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank
you,
you
Bye-bye.
very much.